I was already kind of on a spiritual trip at this point, for a good year and a half, where I'm seeing God's presence in the world. And I'm like, there's stuff going on this week that it very much feels like God's hand is moving stuff around. Mm-hmm. Not really necessarily, not it wasn't good stuff. It was just, but it very much was why is this is not normal, this is not normal. And I couldn't really make much sense of it though. And then I read the Parsha for the week, which was Parsha Naso. And I got to the part about the Sota. And long story short, the Sota was damn, this is crazy. This is exactly with what the Hashgacha Pratis that I'm dealing with this week. The Sota was hitting very close to home. Yeah. And I'm man, this is just, I was so interested in the Sota. I'm what is this? And then I finished the section about the Sota, and it goes right into Nazir. That's the next thing, the Nazir.
Right.
And I've started on Nazir. I'm no, I want to hear more about the Sota. What is this nonsense? This Nazir, I want to hear more about the Sota. So then I'm I go back and I'm trying to look for the tiny little bit of commentary that I have in my book, more about the Sota, and then the Nazir that's right. And so it says in the commentary that I had that the reason these two passages are juxtaposed, the whole reason the Nazir comes right after the Sota, is that the reason someone would take on Naziris is because they witnessed the Sota, right?
Right.
And so I was struggling for the meaning of all what was going on at that point in my life, and I was maybe this is what it was. Maybe all this Hashgacha Pratis was happening because I'm supposed to take on Naziris. And so I'm you know what? Doesn't seem that hard. Don't cut your hair. Don't eat grapes. Don't touch dead people. I could do that for a year. So I'm you know what? I'll take it for a year. I'll take on Naziris for a year, right?
Really?
So sometime after that point, I take on Naziris, and then I go to Israel on Birthright. Had an amazing Birthright trip, and then I go to Mayanot. Mayanot's got a full set of Art Scroll English Gemaras.
Right.
So I'm oh, there's a Nazir one. So I start to read the Nazir one. Right, because I took on Naziris, but I don't know
anything about
all
it.
I know is what it says in Parsha Naso. That's all I know about it.
Right.
And as I'm reading, I'm wait a minute.
Well, stop. Is that what you realized?
I was I can't get out of this. I was thinking this was just a year-long commitment.
Right.
And now, as I'm reading, I'm wait a minute. Not only can I not get out of this, but there's a shaila if I can even leave Israel ever.
The following conversation was a real treat. Something very different from my typical podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's with Ari Lesser. He is a spoken word artist, a musician. The man has incredible talents of putting some very difficult topics into the most delicious packages with his beautiful rhymes and music that he has. The conversations we had about his past and how he came to the Jewish community and how he has grown. And a question I've always wanted to ask him about him being a Nazir. If you want to find out more about it, you got to listen to this. It was such a beautiful breath of fresh air. One of the most fascinating conversations I've ever had, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope you will as well. Just a reminder, please like and follow on the YouTube and comments what you hate about the podcast, what you love about the podcast, and who you'd like me to speak to next.
Hello
Enjoy.
and welcome to the Brainstorm Podcast. And now, your host, Sonny Perlman.
We're live. There's a reason for the clap. Okay, so my son says I have to clap for the editing.
Yeah, right. No, I know something about it. I know how the clap goes.
So I'm sitting with Ari Lesser. And
so great to be here.
Wow. First of all, we just had an hour conversation, which was amazing. So I feel like we get to do it again, which I'm really excited about. And
we'll all do all new stuff now. I don't want to bore you with this.
All new stuff.
Twice.
Okay. Although none of it was boring. I wish we went into every area. Okay, so let me tell you my background with you, and then it's limited. But for years, I've been watching your clips. I'm not sure what you consider your type of music, but I call it like poetry slam. Mm-hmm. Is that okay?
I usually say I'm a spoken word artist.
Spoken
so
word
it covers
artist.
everything: rapper,
Oh,
poetry,
nice.
Whatever kind of lyrics it is. It all falls under the general category of spoken word
The
artist.
spoken word artist, because it is so unique. And my daughter makes fun of me. My daughter Shalva, she says I always call it poetry jam.
Poetry jam.
Because I'm old and I just
So she's
totally
like, no,
forget.
poetry slam.
So she always tells me it's poetry slam. Mm-hmm. And there's one I love called the Hebrew Amita. I don't know if you ever saw her. She's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Anyway, promoting her.
Nice.
You know who I'm talking about?
I think I might have seen a clip from her.
She has one clip that's like made me feel such pride in Judaism.
It's like fiery, right? It's
fiery, yeah.
I
I'm
see.
the Hebrew mamita.
Yeah. No, it's dope. It's a dope clip for sure.
It's a good one. So I would say she reminds me of you, but like when I listen to your stuff, it's like a collaboration of all the things I'm excited about. Like you're like talking about historical context of why we are so proud of being Jewish, but there's humor in it and there's depth in it, and it's like so this is the compliment portion. I freaking love it.
Oh, Baruch Hashem.
I really love it. Like and I last night I just to like remind myself, I went all the way back on your Instagrams. I'm like, I love every single one. You're like talking about Hamantash, and I love it. So, but it's like you take a topic that's really, this is what I'm saying, and you can talk also in a minute, but you take a topic these are really complicated, difficult topics. A topic of right now, October 7th, and Israel and Palestine and the Jewish nation and Jewish beliefs, and you take it, and it's like you almost like package it in this delicious package, and you hand it over, and I'm like, oh, I could take that.
I could digest that.
Right, you took a topic. I put out a clip on like somebody said something about gays for Palestine, and like everybody got real angry.
Yeah.
On the interwebs, right? Which whatever. I didn't even say the clip, but it was someone on my podcast. But I did put it out. So.
Yeah.
But then I saw like you did something, and it was with so much respect.
And honestly, I got so much love from.
Did you get hate for that?
I got love from it. Here, I'll give you the piece because it's right now.
Oh yeah, let's go.
So, I'm calling out the LGBTQ. It's not all of you, but it's more than a few. You know who you are. I seen what you do. Tearing down posters of kidnapped Jews. You got me confused. Whose side are you on? Hamas and Iran want both of us gone. They execute people like us in Tehran, and yet you let yourself get used like they pawn. In the whole Middle East, only one country gives rights to the LGBTQT. If Israel fell and Hamas ran free, we would both be banned from the river to the sea. So I look in the news and I'm shocked to see that you're trashing the Jewish democracy while ignoring Hamas's atrocities. Man, it's all just a bunch of hypocrisy. So
I love it.
I was worried I was gonna get like,
dude, how do you remember all this?
Thank God, I got a good memory. I got
songs.
I have hundreds of songs in here.
You were worried you were gonna get hate for it?
Sure. I mean,
I got a ton of hate.
That's a touchy subject we were talking about earlier. The subjects, that are hot button political divisive issues.
Right.
But I really tried to craft it in a way that the point is to highlight hypocrisy, not to bash anybody's lifestyle choices. Let's just look at hypocrisy. And that's one verse of 4 verses in a song. So it's not like the song is just picking on one group. I'm talking about the LGBTQ. I'm talking about people who are supposedly peace activists, and yet they're, ignoring the violence on one side of the conflict. I'm talking about people who are white European descendants of American colonizers who are pointing their finger at Jews returning to their native homeland and calling them colonizers.
Right.
And I'm pointing at people who are supposedly, huge supporters of the Me Too movement who are absolutely dead silent when it comes to the rapes that happened on October 7th. So in that broader context, when you have all these verses together, it takes the edge off of each one. Each one is like, okay, he's not just picking on me. He's highlighting the hypocrisy that is all around us. And I actually, on that one, I was surprised by the positive feedback I got, because a ton of people in the LGBT community reached out to me. I'm guessing most of them were Jews, LGBT Jews,
Right.
saying, thank you so much for saying this. I am feeling so isolated in my community right now, because to me, this is crazy. You've got a terrorist organization that will absolutely execute gay people in Gaza without even a second thought. You know, they executed a general. There was a general in Hamas. They found out he was a homosexual, and they execute him. If you're a general and you're getting executed, the average Joe Schmo in Gaza has no chance.
Right.
And these people are like, they see that Israel is a safe haven, and that Hamas is like literally one of the most backwards, arch conservative, extremist groups on the planet, and yet all of their friends in the community are waving Hamas flags.
Right.
So I actually got a ton of people who were like, "Thank you for saying this."
But that I feel like that's so unique because it happened the way you say it. Because even when you explaining it, like I feel like if that went out as a clip, like it's nice, but there's something so disarming when you're hearing it with lyrics that are thought out and thoughtful. And
One good thing about music, when it hits you, you feel no pain. All right, that's how it is. So Bob Marley, has a lot of.
Is
good
he one of
stuff.
your inspirations?
Oh, sure. I love Bob. Yeah, I love Bob.
You see this? Did you see the movie? The new movie that came out?
I didn't see it. No.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. I gotta watch it.
Fantastic.
But it's true, really, nowadays. I mean, music has a lot of benefits. One of them is, like you're saying, it's disarming. People, it's easy. It's easily digestible. It's smooth. Also, especially with hip hop, you can fit a lot of information into a short amount of time. And nowadays, nobody's doing their research. Nobody's reading books. Nobody's reading even articles anymore. Everybody needs little packages of information that are just spoon-fed to them. And if they don't get that, well, they will get that. And the question is, who's going to spoon-feed it to them? You know, is someone honest going to spoon-feed it to them, or is somebody going to deceive them with some spoon-fed disinformation?
Right.
So nowadays, it's sad because I actually like writing epic songs. I have songs that are like 15-minute long, and just go. Yeah.
I've never seen those.
Yeah. Well, the reason is because
out?
they're not. That's not good. That kind of stuff doesn't go viral, because what goes viral is like 30-second clips.
Right.
So that's what everyone sees.
Right.
And so I've realized I really have to try and design my writing process to be more and more concise. As I already try to be very concise, but nowadays people have such short attention spans, and there's so much competition for their attention that if you can't get it over like this, they're going to be on to the next
But
thing.
I think it's going two ways.
Yeah.
Because you have the short attention span,
Mm-hmm.
and then at the same exact time, you have 3-hour podcasts going on.
It's true.
We were talking about history podcasts,
true.
which go on
It's
for
true.
30 hours.
It's true. Yeah,
They
no,
go
it
on
is true.
forever.
It is true.
And I'm really curious, like we're going into, it's like almost like there's like one direction, and the revolution is happening at the same time. Like the more attention is happening. Trump was doing rallies that were 3 hours long.
Yeah. I guess once you're sold on something, once you're, for me, there's podcasts and
Yeah.
Once I realize that someone really knows their stuff and they know their history, I'm like, okay, I want to learn from this guy. I want more. Give me like download. If I had the superpowers in the Matrix, to just like upload skills and information, like I would just upload like all the history. I would just upgrade it. So just so I just have it all. So that's
the podcast history is so good because they do all the research. Like when I would have to read 20 books to get one podcast.
Yep.
Nowadays,
Yep.
they're so good.
I know these guys.
And you just
I'm
gave
listening
me a
to
couple of new ones.
I'm listening right now to Revolutions by Mike Duncan, and I'm doing it, and my wife, she hears me listening all the time while I'm cooking or whatever, and she's like, oh, why don't you should do something like this. I'm like, I am in awe of this guy. Okay, I like the amount of time and energy and effort that he must have spent to learn this material and then put it into these. Even though for me a nicely packaged thing is 30 seconds, for him a nicely packaged thing is 30 minutes.
Right.
And it is packed. And then then on top of that, he's like writing books too. I don't understand some people. I don't do they have extra time in the day?
With their life?
To me, how do they have time? Do they not have kids? I don't get it. Like, I think he has kids too. I don't know. I don't know where people get all the time. I have every day I run out of time. I don't know how to do it.
It's quite amazing. I'm really amazed. Specifically these history podcasts, the amount of research. It can only come with a massive amount of love. Yeah. Like, they love the topic.
They do.
There's no way they can't. So you get, okay, let's, how have you always been musical? This is your thing?
So I started writing, I was not always musical. As a kid, I wasn't really that into music, honestly. In high school, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. So I went to Cleveland Heights High, about 80% African-American. And so everybody was listening to hip hop in the halls everywhere. And so one day during biology class, we had a substitute and we weren't learning anything. I decided, just as a joke, I'll write a Jewish gangster rap, right?
Okay.
So I'll just write this Jewish gangster rap in biology class. And after class, I do it for my friends. And they're like, damn, man, that was hard as hell. They're like, that was so tight. And I was like, oh, damn. I got mad props for this thing that I literally spent 20 minutes writing this thing. And it just put this idea in my head, I could do way better than that. I mean, that was just something that was,
in biology class.
In biology, if I just sat down and actually came up with a real subject matter, and actually it was harder than I thought it was going to be at first. I struggled for a few years to actually recreate something as good as that first one that I did.
Oh, really?
But I've been working at it since then. So that's about 20 years I've been writing songs now. And I'd say I'd have maybe 400 or 500 songs that are in my repertoire.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm curious where to find them because I follow you on Instagram. I just get the little clips.
So this is one of my big problems is I'm a big creator and not
a promoter.
Not a promoter. Yeah. So I have so much material that's there. It's nowhere except in here, or it's probably written on my computer, as a Word document. But
did you record this stuff?
Not a lot of it. No, a lot of it's not even recorded.
I feel like I'm taking the mommy role. No, you gotta do this.
There's even songs that are regulars in my sets, and people will be like, "Oh my gosh, where can I find that?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's not recorded. It's nowhere. Literally, it's nowhere right now. This is the only way you heard it is at the show."
That's wild.
So I know I got to get on that, but
Wait, hold on. Before you continue, is there a particular? Okay, I'm like, wait a minute. I want exclusive right now because I want to hear something I haven't heard. I'm sorry to.
How about this? Pick an animal.
Pick an animal. Yeah. A dolphin.
I'm a bottlenose dolphin, sharp as could be. In the sea, no creature is smarter than me. Unfortunately, I live in slavery, born in SeaWorld, so I never been free. It's cruel. I'm trapped in this chlorine pool while the trainers make me jump through hoops like a fool. I might seem chipper and happy as Flipper, because I'm begging for tips and doing tricks like a stripper.
Oh my God. Is that in your repertoire?
That's in the repertoire. No, that's in the repertoire.
It's in there. You have a dolphin one.
This is another thing. I don't freestyle.
You don't freestyle?
I don't freestyle at all. I write everything.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
That was great.
Pick another animal. What do you got?
Oh, you just got all the animals.
I got every animal, yeah.
All right. We'll try a tough one, which I'm sure you got.
Okay, well, I don't know. Okay.
Platypus.
I'm a duck-billed platypus, that's no joke, so strange some folks may think it's a hoax. I'm mostly a mammal That's what they say with electroreceptors to locate my prey. Got a bill like a duck and fur like a dog, lay eggs like a lizard, got feet like a frog, tail of a beaver and venom like a snake. I'm the craziest creature swimming in the lake.
I'm sorry. I'm loving it. Wait a minute. So, do you love animals?
I love animals.
You just love animals.
I've always that. Way before I liked music, I liked animals. When I was a kid, I'd go around and have like the field guides and just go and trying to identify every bug I can find in my yard.
I saw you do some photography, like backpack.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
that.
I love animals. Yeah, all those that's all stuff. And I take my kids out to the woods too. They love animals too. We don't have pets. What we do is during the summer we have like catch and release. So whatever they can catch in the woods, they can bring home and keep it. And basically our custom is that when Tashlich comes,
Okay.
we release. Everything goes back to the
That's
wild.
not a bad amount of time. You could have the whole summer.
You could get for the whole summer because they'll survive the summer. But once we live in Cleveland, if you just keep it in a tank in the winter, we keep them outdoor too. So it's like, you keep in a snake, it's not going to do well.
So you get snakes, lizards. What do you?
Oh yeah, they catch snakes, they catch frogs, toads. Yeah, we had some pretty nice sized snakes this year that they caught. My 7-year-old is like a snake. I don't know how he.
He's a snake
he
whisperer.
comes, oh, man. There's some snakes. I'm like, don't catch that one. Don't do it. That one's too big. And he'll just go for it. He'll just nab these big snakes.
I'm only terrified about which ones are poisonous.
No, we don't have it.
Wait a
in
minute.
Northeast Ohio, we
do you
don't
have a
have.
song on poisonous snakes? And which ones are poisonous?
I'm a rattlesnake. When you hear my rattle shake, take a step back and watch the next move you make. Or I'll strike out and wipe out your life like a sniper. Don't tread on me. I'm a deadly viper. Poison my prey. Stab it and grab it with my big mouth. I could swallow a rabbit. Bite you like toast when you come too close. One shot from my fangs is a lethal dose.
You really have every single one.
I probably about 200 animals.
How about extinct animals? You have any extinct? You have some extinct animals?
I got extinct animals. Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna talk a little more. I'm enjoying it too much. All right, doesn't matter. You can anytime you want, just break it out. Let's go, because I'm loving it.
So those are some stuff you haven't heard. Obviously, most people haven't heard all the animals, at least, even if they heard some of them. But
so I mean, there are so many animals. Just go.
Yeah, I mean, there's millions of animals. So I don't have every animal, but the way it works is I do it at live shows. I let the audience name out their favorite animals, and then kids go crazy for this stuff. Like if I do it at a kids show, they don't let me go on to the next part of the show. They're like, no, more shut up. What if this other song? Just give me more animals. Like I'm like, do you have a question? They're like, I want a tiger now. But
that's awesome. That is awesome. Okay, wow. So you got the animals, and then would you say that? I mean, the stuff I've seen is mostly about Judaism. It's mostly about like the state of Israel.
So the backstory is, like I said, I started writing songs in high school, and then I went to University of Oregon, and I kind of put together a little hip hop crew out there that we'd play house parties and bars, and then really started doing a lot during the summers. I went to music festivals, and I would wear the sign. The sign says Ari's 31 Flavors, and it had 31 different song titles. And I'd just go up to random groups of people and be like, pick a song. They whatever they pick, I rap about their choice. And then I had CDs I was selling. So the first couple of years, I'm just in the campground selling CDs. And then eventually, the organizers of the festivals would start to find out about me, and they'd book me as an act or as the MC. So really that's how I, started to do this as more of a career as opposed to just a hobby.
Right.
I would go to like a different festival every weekend and just hang out for 3 days or so in the campground. And
you ended up graduating from the University of Oregon?
I did, yeah. I have a degree in political science.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right.
And
I don't see you as a politician, though.
No, but I am a political scientist.
you go.
That's why I say I'm not a politician. I'm a political scientist.
I have no idea what it means, by the way.
Yeah.
I always hear people telling me, I'm like, I don't think they're learning anything. Or maybe they are. I don't know.
Hey, I use the information I put into the songs, so that's
All right.
I'm doing science experiments on the whole world with my
With your songs.
with my songs, yeah. So so then after college, I should say so after my senior year, so I had graduated, and I was doing the same thing, going around festivals. The week after one of these festivals was a big festival called Earth Dance in Northern California. This guy reaches out to me and was like, "Hey, I got one of your CDs. I love your lyrics, but that CD was trash. Like it was. I wish I recorded it in like a garage, and it was just me and a beatboxer. It was
Right.
So he was like your lyrics are so good. You need to have better production on this stuff. And so he was saying like he wanted to work out a deal. He'd fly me down to LA, and we'd do a project together. So it was perfect timing for me because I had just graduated from college, and I was like, sweet, this is a great opportunity. So I flew down to LA. Turns out this guy, he's Rastafarian, and he owned a medical marijuana dispensary in Silver Lake. And the place he was putting me up was the patient's lounge of the dispensary. So I'm like sleeping on the couch in the patient's lounge.
Okay.
And every day we're going into the studio, and he put me with some really sick reggae musicians. I worked with some incredible people that, it was an amazing opportunity. I worked with the lead producer was Paul Fakuri, who is probably most famous for the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, which is Lauryn Hill's probably her best album, and he produced that whole album.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I know her. But I don't know.
Yeah, like what the most famous songs you know of hers are from that album. That's
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And then he works with the Marleys, so he did Stephen Marley's album Mind Control. He's a pretty amazing guy. He's a generation before me, and so I was stunned at his professional, abilities. He just goes in the studio and he's like, okay, give me a bass. He just lays down a bass line. Give me the guitar. He lays down the guitar riff. Give me the keys. Lays down the keys. And like, I'm just hearing, like this whole thing, the whole process is taking him maybe like 5 minutes. And he's like, play it back. They play it, and it's like, oh, like that is.
It's like the best.
Somehow he just put it, in 5 minutes, he just put together like a sick, groove.
Wow.
From scratch. Like he's playing the instruments himself,
So you produce stuff out there? Like,
yeah, so that album is called The Hippie. It's out. You can go check it out.
How do we find that?
It's on Spotify. It's available.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
The Hippie.
The Hippie.
Under your name.
Under my name. Yeah.
Okay.
And but why am I telling this? So while I was there, I didn't know much about Rastafarians. I always identified as Jewish, even though I wasn't really observant. I was for sure a proud Jew, even though I wasn't religious in any way. And so I learned about the Rastas while I was out there. They basically, I guess you could say their Rebbe is Haile Selassie, who's the emperor of Ethiopia. And they think he's a direct descendant of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba.
Right.
So because of that, they love the Davidic dynasty. And so they like the Old Testament, but especially their favorite stuff is Psalms and Proverbs, because those are written by King Solomon and King David themselves.
Right.
So at this place, there's like 35 different kinds of weed on the table. And then on the corners of the table, they got stacks of Psalms and Proverbs in English that they would give out to all the patients who came in.
Really?
This is back when it wasn't legal yet. It was only medicinally legal. So you had to have a medical card to come in. And so yeah, 10 a.m. they'd be like, Ari, get up. We got patients coming in. Like, make your bed. and so I'm hanging out working on this other album, which was, if you can go listen to it, The Hippie, it's some political stuff, just some positive vibes, some spoken word, just stories, not religious, for sure, not religious. And I wasn't religious at the time. But while I'm hanging out there, I start flipping through the book of Psalms and Proverbs because it's just sitting on the table. And it struck me like, these would actually make some pretty cool raps. And I had done things in the past where I'd taken, for example, take a Martin Luther King speech and turn it into a rap. take the Declaration of Independence and turn it into a rap.
What?
And that
I want to hear that.
you declare
No. Start with the
when it is
wildly-
necessary in the course of human events for people to dissolve bonds with their governments, they must give mankind decent declaration of the causes which impel them to the separation. All men are equal. That's how they are created. Endowed with certain rights which are not to be debated. Life, liberty, and happiness, just to name a few. We hold these rights to be self-evident and true. Now it is also man's right to institute government, which derives its power from the people's consent. And when the government's commitment to its citizens falters, it is the right of the people to abolish or alter it. And after the people achieve their liberation, they may take it on themselves to lay the foundation of a new government that is righteous and pure, one that keeps its citizens happy and secure. Now, men will not revolt if their suffering is light, but revolution shall always be the people's right. And when the long train of abuse becomes too much to bear, the system must be reconstructed or repaired. For the United Colonies, now is that hour. Too long has Great Britain usurped our power. The king's tyranny can no longer be permitted, and to prove this to the world, let facts be submitted. He has denied us the power to make laws as we would, even laws that are necessary for the public good. He's dissolved our governments, obstructed our courts, all without the people's consent or support. He has altered and abolished our fundamental charters, blocked foreign trade, denied our right to barter, imposed taxes on us without our consensus, had us tried overseas for pretended offenses, transported foreign troops into our nation, bringing with them tyranny, death, and desolation, quartered them among us, even in times of peace, while they burnt our towns and plundered our seas. The laws and actions of the king disgust us. He has been too deaf to hear the voice of justice. We've attempted to reason and tried to petition, but the king of Great Britain just refuses to listen. He's a prince whose character is marked by acts of tyranny and is unfit to be the ruler of a people who are free. The United Colonies will tolerate no more. From now on, we are friends in peace, but enemies in war. To the monarchy of Britain, we are no longer bound. We absolve ourselves of all allegiance to the British crown. It's the unanimous decision of these men in attendance. The states of America declare their independence.
Holy cow. Dude, I am completely transfixed.
Yeah, so so that's like the kind of stuff I had done in the past. Take an old thing and translate it. It's like I'm not trying to make up my own thing. I want to say the ideas that are in the Declaration.
Right.
So I thought, okay, do the same thing with these Psalms. Take these like 3,000-year-old songs of my people and make them into rhymes. And I had a misconception about the Psalms before I started actually reading them, which is, I think a lot of people, when you think Psalms, you think hallelujah. That's what a lot of people think.
Yeah.
Which is not false, but it's probably like 5% of
Very
the book
small.
that's hallelujah. And most of it is actually some pretty dark, heavy stuff. And King David is in these like really intense situations. He's surrounded by enemies. He's, on his last, available options, and
Basically incredibly relatable.
And also the themes are very similar to what you see in like gangster rap a lot of times, like, because
Right.
these people are also often in desperate situations. It's tough times. And the big difference, the big like chiddush of King David is like, in most gangster rap, what's the solution? Is like, but I'm gonna kill you. Like,
Right.
it's me. I'm tough, and I'm gonna
Right.
get through it because I'm like powerful. And King David's his answer is always like, but God's gonna save me. Like, he has absolute faith in God to save him. It's not that he himself has any, he's like, I'm a worm. Like, what am I? But he's still going to get out of it on top, not because he's, this incredibly powerful warrior, even though that's how we envision him, but rather because he has absolute faith that God's got his back, and that he,
Which, by the way, I always found to be pretty wild, because he was not a man who didn't put in the work. Man, he went to war all the time.
No, he did. Absolutely.
And then in his book, he's like, well, God's going to save me, but
Right.
he's still going to war.
Yeah.
It's not like he's sitting around waiting.
No. Although sometimes, when he's hiding in the cave, at one point it's like him versus Saul's army of 3,000 people. Like, he doesn't have a chance in the war. All he can do is hide out in a cave and just hope for the best.
Yeah.
And God does save him. And, so anyways, I start to work with the Psalms really as a historical project, like I said. And I go through the same process. I'm going line by line, and it's like a puzzle. How do I say the same thing, but make it rhyme in English, right?
Right.
And then my process with any song is, once I have the lyrics finished, then I start to memorize it. So I'll repeat it to myself over and over again. And eventually I don't even need to read it. I can just kind of repeat it until I have it like really smooth and I know the ins and outs and I know, where I need to take a breath. I know, every nook and cranny of the song. So I'm walking around the streets of LA, like repeating these psalms to myself with the intention of performing them like any song I write. I'm a showman. So I perform for an audience.
Right.
So that's the same idea. I'm gonna memorize the song so I can perform it for the audience. And it struck me that, like, if you actually, because I'm saying the words over and over again, King David himself, most of the time, not all the time, but probably 80-90% of the time, he's not talking to the people. He's talking to God, right? I'd never written a song to God before. I write a song to the people.
Right.
And so here I am repeating King David's words, thinking I'm performing them for an audience of people. And more I did it, the more I really got this very tangible feeling like the audience is listening right now, Okay. I had never had that kind of feeling before. Like, I believed in God as a oneness,
Okay.
the oneness of all things, sort of like pantheistic a little bit,
Right.
not as a sentient being who's listening to me and watching me, But King David says some stuff in his Psalms that make you think. It's like, you really think that the one who made the eye can't see and the one who made the ear can't hear? Like, we are these insanely complex beings that even with our most advanced technology, all we're trying to do is like replicate what we're just born with. We are super high tech. And you really think that the whatever created this super high tech thing that we are, you think that doesn't have the capabilities we have? We're the creation. Like, we're nothing compared. We're just in the image of God.
Right.
So, yeah. So the more and more that I worked with the Psalms, the more I really felt this connection to Hashem. Like, felt like Hashem is listening to me. Felt like I could talk to Hashem. And it just opened up the whole world of tefillah to me, opened the whole world of prayer, which I was not something that I ever did before that. And that's...
But at this point, you didn't meet any, you're not really having any interaction with any Orthodox people.
Oh,
or
no.
anything like
No,
that.
no. I'm hanging out with the Rastas
You're being
in Silver
macabre
Lake.
by the Rastas.
I was makarov by David Amelech. That's what I say, because it was through Tehillim. It was through, he's my Rebbe. David Amelech is my Rebbe.
All right.
'Cause as a songwriter, I connected to him as a songwriter. I'd already been writing songs, at that point, probably 7 years. And I'm like, what is it about this dude's lyrics? Like, he's writing songs. So I'll say for me, I was doing a lot of political stuff, and I'd write a song and people would love it. They'd be cracking up. And then like a few months later, it is completely dated because the political situation has changed. And like, there's no reason for me to ever sing that song again in the history of the world because it's just not relevant anymore. Meanwhile, here's King David, who wrote a song 3,000 years ago, and his song is still relevant.
It's like,
So,
right.
what
Our
is
songs are about Dan Quayle, and his songs are about forever.
Right. So
Wow.
I'm fascinated to I joke, it's like Billboard Top 150 for the last 3,000 years, this guy, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So I wanted to learn, like, what is, trying to analyze his lyrics. What is it about this that is so evergreen, so timeless? And, really, so I was really makarov through him. And eventually, once I get into Psalms, that leads me into Tanakh. Now I want to learn his story. Who is he? What's his background? And you start to read Tanakh, it's like, I kind of got to start in the beginning. I kind of got to go back and like, what's the beginning? It's Bereshit. So even though I had a bar mitzvah, I had a basic level of Jewish education. We'd do holidays and we'd have like Shabbos dinner and stuff. I had never actually read the Torah from cover to cover. It was like the first time I'd ever done it. But I'm like, you know what? Let's go. Bereshit. Back to the beginning. Square one.
You're just doing this on your own.
Yeah. And I actually started, because I'm a rhymer. I was like, I'm going to rhyme the whole Torah.
That was a very lofty goal.
It was a lofty goal that I didn't.
No one can do that. Could anybody do that?
So I'll tell you how it went. I actually, I was hanging out in Sedona, and staying at this awesome place. It was right after the.
Well, how'd you end up in Sedona? You needed to be in Sedona.
Well, okay, that's a whole nother, because that's my wife's story ties into this whole. That's a whole nother story.
Why can't I hear that story?
Okay, you want?
Wait, you're smiling. I want to hear that.
All right.
Sedona is the epicenter, right?
Sedona-
Isn't that where all the energies are going
Sedona's a cool spot. So my wife was living in Sedona at the time. So that's how I ended up in Sedona. This was like 2009, 2010. So it was after the financial crisis, and her friend were able to rent this insane sick mansion out in the desert for like nothing because there was just
nobody
to rent it. And so it was amazing. And then they both like worked in Phoenix. So I was just hanging out at this mansion by myself.
Wow.
In Sedona, just writing all day. It was pretty sweet. I wrote some really great stuff there actually.
Sorry, okay, that's a story.
That's another tangent. So hold on, how did we get to Sedona though?
No, because now you're rhyming the entire Torah.
Oh, so that's where I was that's where I made the decision. Okay, I'd already been learning Psalms and I'm rhyming Psalms, but when I was Sedona, I was like, you know what? I was meditating, like, what is the next step for me? And the thing that came was like, Bereshit, start in the beginning. And so I start in the beginning. I start rhyming Bereshit, and I called up my mom that week just to talk with her. Told her that this new project I was working on. She's like, "Oh, did you know this week is Simchat Torah? Everybody's starting in Bereshit." Like, I had no clue. I was totally out of connection. I was not affiliated with anything. But that made me like, oh wow, like there's something about this cycle. Like there's a reason I'm starting with Bereshit right now. And so because it just coincided, I was like, I'm gonna try to do each parsha each week, since we were just starting at Bereshit. So I tried to rhyme all of Parsha Bereshit the first week, and then rhyme Parshas Noach the next week, and rhyme.
Then you realize it gets a little boring.
Well,
it's really good
I'll
for the first 10 weeks.
So first of all, it's an insane workload, and there was a few weeks where like I just couldn't finish it, and now I got the new week, and so there's for sure holes in it. I did a big chunk of it, but there's holes in it. And I went through the whole book of Genesis, and then I go like halfway through Exodus, and then I got to Parsha Truma. Okay. And I'm like, the week comes, I start flipping through the parsha to see like what am I going to be rhyming this week? Because each week I don't know what I've not read through the Torah yet, so I don't know what's coming. So I start flipping through Truma. I'm like, okay, so they're building some stuff, and this is like, okay, let's see what's going on next week. It's like, and they're making clothes now for a whole week. They're just making clothes, and then what's the next week? And then they're putting together the stuff that and it's like for the next 4 weeks is just, if you were like editing so I guess let me put it this way. Up until that point, I sort of saw the Torah as a book of stories that my ancestors put together to teach, wisdom and values and lessons to their ancestors. Right. And when I get to these 4 or 5 parshas in the middle of Exodus, they put that theory to the test. Because if you were the editor of a storybook, you would have edited all those chapters out. That's not a story. That's a blueprint of how to build something. Right. That's instructions how to make clothes. That's not a story. That's very much like that, so it, first of all, seemed like something that nobody would want to hear a song about. Right. Why am I going to rhyme this whole parsha of Truma? Nobody's going to want to hear the song of Truma. Okay.
Right.
Like a 25-minute song about building instructions.
Right. How many cubits?
Yeah.
You definitely have cubits in one of your songs.
So, yeah.
You can't write about the Torah without having cubits there somewhere.
So you might have thought, oh, that's going to just turn me off from the Torah, because it's like, no, but it actually did the opposite. What it did was it just flipped a switch in my brain, and I stopped, like, I basically was like, maybe I don't understand what this book is. Maybe I don't really get this. And maybe instead of trying to rhyme it, I should just try to understand what's going on here. So I stopped trying to rhyme it at Truma, but I started going deeper into trying to understand what's really going on. And I think that at that point, I started to take it more seriously and started to feel like, maybe this is not just a fairy tale, Maybe this is actually, like, they're saying they built this thing. They built this structure. And then as soon as they built the structure, then God started speaking from this thing they built.
Right.
And it's like, if you take that at face value, that's crazy. I mean, that's like a crazy thing. you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what if that is what if that's really what happened? Because that seems like that's what happened, you know? And so I started to take it all very literally and seriously. And when you start to do that, then keeping the mitzvahs becomes less of like, oh, this could be like good advice for you, and more like, no, this is like God's eternal will and wisdom. Like it just takes the thing to a whole different.
You're doing this all on your own.
Yeah, I'm doing this. This is at this point still. I have no connection to any rabbi or synagogue or anything like that. So at that point I started to keep the mitzvahs as I read them in the Torah, but I had no oral tradition. I had nothing, no Mishnah, no Gemara, just by the book. Whatever I read, I'm doing it like it says.
There's a book. I just want to tell you, there's a book called My Year of Living Biblically.
Okay.
I wish you read it, because you would have smiled. It's this guy, he's a secular Jew, and he decides to live by the laws of just the Torah for a year. Fascinating. There's a lot of interesting
I've heard of it.
parallels
I didn't
to
read
your
it, but
life, the way you're describing it, because he actually is doing it kind of as a joke, not as a joke, but he's a journalist. He does these wacky things. He's gonna do a year. He's like, he says you have to stone somebody who like cheats on their spouse. So like he takes some pebbles and he like stoning the homeless guy at the end of the street, because the guy's like, he's like, yeah, I have to stone you. The guy's like, cheat on my wife all the time. He's stoning him, and he grows like he has fringes, but he doesn't know what fringes mean. But like it's a lot of the same. And then at some point, there's a click in the book where he's like, whoa, something real going on here. I don't know where it goes,
Yeah.
But it's very similar.
Right.
Like,
It goes
starts
from, like,
as an experiment.
And then you're like, maybe I should be showing this a little more respect. You
right.
know?
Then he's like finding people and asking real questions and like, oh, what's going, like,
Yeah.
It's almost like, an experiment. That's what I don't know if yours starts an experiment, but it's a very similar idea.
So yeah, I mean, I started to, one of the hardest things, keeping Shabbos, right? Which I didn't know anything about an Eruv, of course, because it doesn't say anything about an Eruv.
Right.
But I know you're not supposed to work. And so what was my work? My work was singing. I'd go to music festivals and perform. So Shabbos was a big step for me, because it wasn't like I was working 7 days a week. These music festivals are like Friday,
Shabbos.
Saturday, Sunday.
Right.
So I'm not taking one day off out of 7. I'm taking one day off out of 3.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm scraping by as it is, like that's not much of a job to like go to music festivals. It's fun. It's a blast. But like, I'm only working 3 days a week, and I'm going to take one of the 3 days off, But I decided, I'm going to try. I'm going to try to keep Shabbos at these festivals. I'm going to go. I'll hustle all day Friday night. I'll put my sign down. I'll put my CDs down, and I'll just chill. I'll enjoy myself, and I'll enjoy Shabbos. I'll just relax and have a good time. And then Saturday night, I'll put my stuff back on and get back to work. Right. So, so a lot of these festivals, I go to the same festival like 3-4 years in a row. So I know what to expect. I know generally how big the crowd is. I know how many CDs I'm going to sell. I have a good sense of like the festival. So what I've started to see is I'd be going to the same festival I'd gone to 2-3 times before. And now the only difference is I'm taking a full day off.
Yeah.
And at the end of the weekend, I count up my money, and I made more money. And it was like, what? That doesn't add up, but I think it was like a little encouragement for me. Like, don't think you're going to suffer because you're keeping the mitzvahs. You're not going to, Hashem doesn't give us these mitzvahs to punish us.
Right.
And I think it could be partially is just like, if I just rap for 3 days straight, like nonstop, I'm wiped. And by Sunday, I'm like not on top of my game. Whereas I take a nice day off, chill, rest. Everybody else gets all burnt out. And I come like strong, rushing out of the gates on Saturday night, Sunday. And,
I will say for myself, like I look at people, now that I'm older and my kids are older, and my kids are old. I look younger than I am, but my kids are all like in their 20s and stuff. So it's, when I look at someone who doesn't keep Shabbos, I'm like, how do you survive? I don't even get it. Like,
I know,
how do you,
with the phone especially, it's like
How you do it?
You mean you never stop looking at your screen? Like
You
never?
ever. It's wild.
But what's crazy is that's like most people in Western society now.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people in Western society never stop looking at their phone.
At
Ever.
any point. Yeah. It's
I mean,
we're cyborgs.
I'm pretty bad. I'm like 6 days a week. I have a
it's
video.
bad.
I have a video that's going viral right now, and I like can't stop like
Can't stop.
refreshing and seeing. If I didn't have Shabbos, I mean, I'd be the same way. But Shabbos is crucial. It's crucial to take
so
that break.
That's wild. No, because the way you describe it, like you come out Sunday, like it's a different world. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting a new week. I don't know when the pause is if you don't stop.
If you don't stop, then yeah, you
Where
lose. You
do
lose.
pause.
There is no pause, and that's why it says it's not just remember Shabbos, guard Shabbos, because the world wants to take away your Shabbos. The world
Right.
doesn't want you to pause. The world wants you to work all the time and just be constantly working. And if you don't guard your Shabbos, you aren't going to have a Shabbos. The world will take it from you. You gotta stand your ground,
Yeah.
shut it down, and say no.
I love it. It just reminded me of something completely random, and it's going to another thing, which is I was reading about, in Iran they have a place called Mushad, the Mashadis. Anyway, okay, there's a group of Persian Jews that are called Mashadis.
Okay.
They're all like Tehranis, Mashadi.
Okay.
They have different names. I don't know all of them and what the differences are, but I know that in Moshad, they shut down, like they said, no more like keeping this Judaism stuff. So like they wanted them to kind of stop with all the Judaism. So they went underground, and they were a little bit like Moranos.
Sure.
They had like underground yeshivas and
Yep.
stuff like that, and they turned out to be the scholars
Interesting. Of the
Persia,
whole Persian Jewish
because
community.
they're the ones that were guarding it. Like when you're saying the word guarding, like they
Oh,
were.
I see. Like they realized, oh shoot, we got to protect this because they're trying to. The society's
Right,
trying
they're
to take it
taking
away from us.
So when they're taking it away, I see it also now, like with October 7th and everybody getting angry at us. Like the Jews we're like so connected because like all of a sudden we're guarding it. We're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like I like what you said with the
all of a
guarding.
sudden, you got all these Jews coming out of the woodworks who haven't cared
at all.
about their Judaism, about Israel for their entire lives, and all of a sudden they're like, "Oh wait, you're trying to take it away?
We're in.
We're in. We're donating. We're fighting. We're on the front lines. We're at the rally. Like, where were you for the last 30 years?" But no, but it does. When it's true. It's a good point that when.
No, I'm saying when you observe something, that's good, but when you're guarding it, now it's like now you're messing with my tribe. Now you're coming at me, at our people.
Yeah.
Like, what would we do to protect our kids? You know, like there's nothing. So like we're protecting each other. I like what you're saying about the guarding. The guarding is really what keeps Shabbos going. Like,
Well, it's both. It's right.
don't
It
mess
says
with
Zachor and Shamor are spoken
Right.
in one word. You know,
Right.
and I think a lot of people they just do the Zachor. They remember that it's Shabbos. They have a nice Shabbos dinner,
right.
but they're not really guarding it. They're not really protecting it, and therefore it's not really safe because they could easily just slip into not keeping it if they're not guarding it.
Right.
Their boss tells them, "Hey, I want you coming in on Saturday," and if you don't guard it, he'll walk right over you, and you just lost your Shabbos.
Right. Wait. Okay, I know you're going through your whole story, but I want to stop you because you passed by. I'm curious. Okay, I happen to be. I'm a little bit of like a literalist with the Torah. Like,
Sure.
So it's interesting that you're doing it in
Yeah,
a literal
I'm a
sense.
literalist too. I am.
Right. No. So like, here's a question. So I'm like a real literalist with the Torah,
Me
which
too. Me
which
too.
is yeah. But for you, it might be easier. I tell you why, because I grew up Orthodox.
Yeah.
And every story we learned in the Torah when we were young, we immediately, the Midrashim and all that stuff is plugged in immediately.
I'm the opposite.
Right. So
Yeah.
you, like, I'm almost jealous. I'm hearing your story. Like, you get to just read it raw. So it took a while for me to go, you know what, I'm going to read this and turn my brain off every time it tries to fill in the holes.
I mean, to me, what it's like is, you know, some movies they got like the director's cut.
Yeah.
And you've got like, and the director's like, and this is what I was trying to do here, and it's like, okay, like that's kind of cool. After you've seen the movie, like first watch the movie. You know what I mean? First, just watch it as it is, and then you can watch the director's cut where they're like explaining everything was going on.
Right.
Like
So,
with the midrash, I'm like, you shouldn't like first read it and just like see, you know.
But it's real confusing when you do it. Here, pull your mic a little closer. So
sorry.
here's a question. So the fascinating thing that when I started reading it literally, it really transformed how I see our forefathers, or like the Avos, like because the stories are not good about them. Meaning,
Some of
like,
them, yeah. Some
no,
of
I'm
them
saying like you look at the story of Yaakov, and he's a trickster. Like he keeps tricking them. He keeps like stealing the brachos, then he's like figuring out how to like bamboozle his uncle and escape with the kid. Like it's if you're just reading it, I mean, Esav's the good guy for sure. Yaakov's the bad, like for sure. Like Esav's just this nice guy.
Well, talking about you're saying earlier how you like there's a podcast you like because he's able to
See both sides. The
And
martyr made.
I think it's really important that we're able, both with Yishmael and with Esav, to see their side of like they're not crazy. Like
I feel like the Torah tells us their side,
right? But when you learn it with Midrashim, it's like, oh, Esav was a vampire and he's trying to bite his neck and he's trying, it's
right.
like it just
got all the dots.
It just turns him into this like stereotypical like
right.
villain,
Darth Vader style.
Whereas Esav's got his whole own perspective on things, and once you realize that Esav is Rome, it actually explains a lot of Rome. Like, why is Rome the way it is? Towards us, and like.
They're resentful.
They're resentful, and rightfully so.
Right,
rightfully so. Not that we did anything wrong, because at the end of the day, Esav willingly sold his birthright. It wasn't like he got tricked
Under
out of it.
Duress. I mean, if you're reading it, it's like he was gonna die, so he said yes. But that's the problem. Medrash like immediately like sticks in.
Yeah.
But when you're hearing it, you're like, that's probably how Esav felt. Meaning, it was wrong, but he felt ripped off. Like,
well, but the other part, of it, which I guess this is also midrash a bit too, but we read in the Haggadah, like because of what happened in last week's parsha, in Lech Lecha, Hashem told Avram, your ancestors are going to be slaves for 400 years, okay? And so Esav, he knew that. This is his grandpa. Like he knew that story,
right?
And so part of him selling it was like, you know what? I don't want the reward. I don't want the punishment. I don't want to deal with this.
Right.
It's not an illogical thing. It's not like that he was just swindled out of it. It's understandable someone wouldn't want themselves and their descendants to be slaves for 400 years, even if the reward's great. That's a big time commitment, you know?
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's not like Esav got ripped off. He avoided the 400 years of slavery in Egypt.
Right.
And because he avoided that, he didn't get the benefit. But,
okay, but I have a specific question.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it is. Because it's nice, like I'm like, there's something so fresh about I don't think I've ever heard a story of someone, besides for that book I read, which is a little similar, but it was not like this at all. One of the things that I'm amazed by is that we nowadays try to sanctify our rabbis. Mm-hmm. Like we turn them into these like tzaddikim that can never do any wrong. And anything they did wrong, we have to immediately switch it to right.
Right.
And when we read the Torah is like, hey, this is a place where he struggled. David HaMelech, like he messed up. Nasan HaNavi came like, you messed up, bro.
Yeah.
Like you gotta fix it. But that was fine. And what I love about it is like that guy I relate to. Right. And that guy was still the greatest person we know.
Yeah.
With the faults, now I say this, and I get it
with
big
David
fights.
especially because he teaches us the power of tshuva. So it's like, how can you do tshuva if you didn't mess up?
If you never messed up.
That's not tshuva.
Right.
That's just you're faking it? Like no, tshuva is when you mess up. You can't do tshuva if you don't mess up.
Right.
So how can we say we learned from David HaMelech how to do tshuva through the Tehillim are these incredible pieces of tshuva.
I just feel like that you probably got to see the Avos in a way, because you weren't even being taught by someone in a way that is more human than anybody else I know.
I had the green art scroll Tanakh, very little commentary at the bottom there. You know the one I'm talking about? Yeah. So that's what I was using.
You just reading it.
Yeah.
No commentary.
Because
to me, the stories are so human.
Yeah.
And I look at them.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the question.
Okay.
First, I tell you I'm jealous a little because I am, because I try so hard to unplug.
It's like I got you watched the movie before you read the book.
Yes,
I read the book.
You got
first.
to read the book.
So I got to formulate my own visions of these.
Right, and then you find out in the movie you were wrong, but it doesn't matter because you got it right.
Right.
Where was there? Oh man, I had a thought. Okay, whatever, doesn't matter because I forgot it. But I wanted to. First, I wanted to know if you wrote anything on that. I'm just curious because as you were writing through
On what
on the humanness of the avos, like
so
I'm curious. Yeah.
So one of the things I've done, same with like animal raps. I've done like raps for like pretty much all the characters in Bereshit.
Did you?
Yeah. So
I could pick one.
you could. I don't have them all memorized.
Did
as
you
well.
ever do one with Shaul? Shaul's like my favorite.
Yeah, so
I know he's
Shaul-
the bad guy in the David story.
I've only done Bereshit.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
But yeah, Shaul to me is actually, you know,
It's a tragic
to
figure.
me, it's mental illness. That's what it seems like to me, is that he's somebody who suffered from mental illness,
Right.
and that he was a great person, but you know, unfortunately, had this struggle of
like some sort of bipolar situation.
yeah, and you see it. Like he goes from being like I mean, he's a hero. He's like, you know, he saves Israel. He's, you know, beloved, and at a certain point, a switch flips, and he loses it. And,
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I love it because I feel trying to think who I used to think who do I relate to? Who do you relate to? Out of all the avos, let's hear.
out of all the Avos,
Yeah, like Bereshit. Like,
Avram. I'm born partial Lech Lecha, so Avram's my dude. Yeah.
He's your dude.
Yeah. Avram and David. Those are my guys.
Those are your
Avram-
guys.
Yeah, Avram and David.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got anything on Avram?
Used to be Avram, now I'm Avraham. I was commanded to move to the land of Canaan. Left my home, I sent away my wife. Almost took my own son's life with the knife. Circumcised myself when I was 99. Because every time God spoke, I just fell in line. But those who bless me are blessed. Those who curse me are cursed. And my kids are countless like the dust of the earth.
All right. Okay, so you got it all. That does make him feel more human, by the way, when you say the story. I love it.
I like to do it in the first person. So it's like they're telling their story. It just makes it a little
Right.
bit like more human.
It's like the wow. So you're okay. I'm always there's a this is the thing I wanted to say. The Rav is Rai Salvachik from Yeshiva University, and he was amazing. And he wrote this essay, "Lonely Man of Faith." Do you ever read that essay?
No.
So it's just the most incredible essay. It was just one of the most incredible essays ever written, and incredibly difficult to understand. But it's about like the nature of man and all that. But one of the things he does is he talks about the two creation stories in the Torah, and I'm like, what two creation stories? And
Like
a
in
professor-
Bereshit, how it goes like back to back. They have the 7 days, and then they.
Well, no. So here, the creation of man. So first it said, like, so my professor who's teaching me this, it was an awesome guy. I can't remember his Dr. Linzer. So he started the class. We did a class on this, and he said, read these, I don't know, 20 psukim and like come back with your analysis or whatever. And I read them, and no matter how many times I read them, I couldn't see that Torah talks about the creation of Adam twice.
Right.
And I couldn't see it because my brain is like, I already know the medrash that he was created once and he's split in half and like it was man and woman together. And really there's two stories. One he's created by himself. One he's created with Chava.
Rashi's commentary, which I'm sure is what you were raised with, is that the first account is a general thing, and the second account is just a more in-depth description of the first account. It's not that it's two separate things.
Right.
It's that. So I'm sure that's what you were
Right. So
brought up with.
immediately I'm plugging that in.
Right.
I'm like, this is one story, and
Yeah.
but I couldn't even see that the two. And the Rav has the whole essay is based on two different character traits of us being. I mean, I'll just tell you quickly. One is the independent man, which is we're created by ourselves. So that's the creative one who's like kind of pushes God away, like he's like its own God.
That's the
And
second one.
I think that's The first one, Adam 1.
Okay,
I think the first one he's created by himself, and then he's created Adam and Chava together.
Okay.
And the second one is the community man, so that we need other people. And we're all on a spectrum of wanting to be out by ourselves and being creative and like going out into the world and like, kind of our arrogant self a little bit. And the other one is like, I need my people. I need to, surround myself with my family. And that's another part. And we're all on that spectrum somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's called the Adam 1, Adam 2 spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's a fascinating article.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm going totally on a tangent,
cool idea,
but
though.
it's definitely worth checking out. But I couldn't even see it. And that's why I'm like, I'm listening to your story. I'm like, this guy read it, not from a Christian perspective, not from a Jewish perspective, just read it. Read it.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. I don't know if anybody ever got as excited as I did about that.
No, but it is true. I was able to just, I didn't have any of this like hero worship attached to any of this stuff. It was like, what's the story? What's going on? It's
right.
like, so I'll give you another one. Like, hey, my name's Leia. I got married to a player who got married to my younger sister 7 days later. At first, I was jealous because he thought that she was cuter. But then I bore him Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda, Yisachar, Zvulun, and Dinah, our daughter, while my skinny little sister couldn't give our husband nada. He realized my worth once I started giving birth, and I showed him why it's good to have a woman with some girth.
Oh my God. That's blasphemy,
Right.
bro. That is blasphemy. I love it. Oh, I love it so much. Okay. So that's amazing.
So
How do I not know that one?
It's
I'm
not
sorry.
recorded anywhere.
Don't record anything. I'm recording. I'm sending you clips of every one of these.
All right, great.
All right, you're gonna have material.
Yeah.
Okay, so at what point do you? I do have a question I gotta ask. I don't know what part of the story it goes in, and to me, it's like plugging in the David Amelch thing. You have long hair.
Yeah.
I have to ask because it's incredibly unique, and I don't know anything. I don't know if you're up for telling like why you have long hair.
Sure.
I used to have long hair, but it seems to me to you that there's some meaning behind it.
Well,
I don't know why.
Yeah. So, so let's just see. Where were we in the original story? I started learning. I'm learning. I'm reading the Torah as I read it. I'm trying to keep the mitzvahs as I read them.
Right.
And so it happened. I was up in Oregon, and I was in Portland that week. And all week long, there was just like this like weird hashgacha pratis stuff going on. And it was like, I very much felt, I was already kind of on a spiritual like trip at this point, for a good year and a half, where I'm like seeing God's presence in the world. And I'm like, there's stuff going on this week that it like very much feels like God's hand is moving stuff around. Right. Not really necessarily, not wasn't like good stuff. It was just, but it very much was like, why is like, this is not normal. This is not normal. And I couldn't really make much sense of it though. And then I read the Parsha for the week, which was Parsha Naso. And I got to the part about the Sota. And long story short, like the Sota was like, damn, this is like crazy. This is exactly with what the Hashgacha Pratis that I'm dealing with this week. The Sota was like hitting very close to home. Why?
Okay. Yeah, explain that.
Okay,
Sota was hitting
close to home. Okay. And I'm like, man, this is just, I was like so interested in the Sota. I'm like, what is this? And then I finished the section about the Sota, and it goes right into Nazir. That's the next thing, the Nazir.
Right.
And I started reading about Nazir. I'm like, no, I want to hear more about the Sota. What is this nonsense? This Nazir, I want to hear more about the Sota. So then I'm like, I go back and I'm like trying to look for the tiny little bit of commentary that I have in my book, like more about the Sota. And then the Nazir that's right. And so it says in the commentary that I had that the reason these two passages are juxtaposed, the whole reason that the Nazir comes right after the Sota, is that the reason someone would take on Naziris is because they witnessed the Sota. Right?
Right.
And so I was struggling for the meaning of all what was going on at that point in my life. And I was like, maybe this is what it was. Like maybe all this Hashgacha Pratis was happening because I'm supposed to take on Naziris. And so I'm like, you know what? It doesn't seem that hard. Don't cut your hair. Don't eat grapes. don't touch dead people. I could do that for a year. So I'm like, you know what? I'll take it for a year. I'll take on Naziris for a year. Right.
Really?
And so I took on Naziris for a year. And I remember the very first thing that, like, my first act as a Nazir was I had just gone to the grocery store and gotten this giant bag of cashews and raisins.
Oh.
And I was like, oh crap. And so I spent like a good hour just picking raisins out of the bag.
They were together.
They were mixed together.
Okay. All right.
And so I spent an hour just throwing raisins out and leaving the cashews, because raisins are actually pretty cheap. Cashews are kind of expensive. I'm not like trying to throw away a whole giant bag of cashews. So but it's interesting because the cashews, they're raw cashews, so they're like white, and the raisins are like black, and it really felt like I was like,
it was symbolic.
I was symbolic. Like I was removing the darkness and leaving the light behind,
Wow.
And so I think, basically during that year, I ended up going on Birthright to Israel.
Wait, so you took on that before you were observant?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. And this is something that people...
I'm so glad I did a podcast with you. My life is getting so much better.
People always hear I'm a Nazir and they're like, oh, what? You were so holy. You thought you didn't have enough mitzvahs. You're going to take on another one. Oh, what? Look who's a... It's like literally the exact opposite of that.
Like, this is my first one.
This is my first one. I didn't feel obligated to do any mitzvahs. Okay. I wasn't raised with the idea that I was at Har Sinai, and I don't remember being at Har Sinai. I don't remember agreeing to any of this stuff.
Right.
So actually, Naziris was the first mitzvah I agreed to do. Right? That's the only mitzvah I agreed to do. Everything else is like gravy. This one I actually said I'm going to do,
Wild.
And so I said I'm going to do it. So I figured I'm going to do it. So then I went to yeshiva. I went to
Birthright.
I went on Birthright, but I already planned on going to Mayanot. They had a beginner's program, and I was just going to stay. And I pushed my ticket to the max, my return flight. So I was going to stay in Israel for 3 months. I was going to Birthright, and then a few weeks at Mayanot, and I didn't even know what I was going to do the next 2 months.
How did you even know about Mayanot?
All right. So I should also. So after about traveling, I was traveling around doing shows all over the West Coast, learning Torah. I started to. What happened was, I was in Arizona, Passover, and my family, even though they're very secular, not observant, we always did Passover. Like, we would go to my cousins, we'd have a Seder. Like, I knew you're supposed to do a
traditions.
Seder. So it's funny because as much as like I was just doing the written tradition, that's all I had. All I had was the written tradition. There was this piece of the oral tradition that had reached me and my secular family, which is the Seder. Like, that piece of the oral tradition went all the way from Har Sinai all the way to my secular family in America in, the 20th century, right? And so I knew you're supposed to do a Seder, even though it doesn't say anything about it in the book. And so I'm in a little predicament because I'm doing everything by the book, and it doesn't say anything about the Seder in the book.
Right.
But I know I'm supposed to do it. So what I decided to do is, I'm going to go on an undercover spy mission. I'm going to go to Chabad, see how they do the Seder. Then I'll know how to do it, and then I'll be able to just, every year I'll be able to do it.
Right.
So I went.
Spy mission.
Basically, yeah. Like,
you're like sneaking in there like, yay!
Right. So I went to Rabbi Levertov in Phoenix. He had, big communal Seder, probably like 80 people or something. And mostly old ladies who are hanging out in Phoenix. And so I'm at my table with all these nice older couples, and they were schmoozing. They hear that I'm a rapper, and I told them at this point I'd been learning Torah for 2 years. So I had a song about the 10 plagues.
Okay.
So I told him I had a song about. So one of them goes to the rabbi without telling me and says, "No, this boy has a song about the 10 plagues." And the rabbi's like, "Come, you'll share with us." I'm like, "Oh boy!" It's like, 'cause it's like a gangster rap. It's not like a song. I'm like, these.
You're not gonna have to sing it. Sorry.
Okay. So, Yo, because you won't let my people depart, I'm sending my plagues against your heart. You and your servants soon shall see, in all the earth there is none like me. And if I chose, I could send my hand to wipe you out from the face of the land, but I let you live so you may declare how great my name is everywhere. From the river to the lake to the puddle in the mud, every drop of water shall be turned into blood. The fish life will perish, the river will stink, the Nile will be vile and impossible to drink. And from the bloody waters, frogs will ascend to enter the houses of you and your friends. They'll creep through your bedroom, your kitchen too. They'll hop in your food and they'll climb into you. And when the frogs die, their stench will disgust, and lice infestation will form from the dust. The lice will reach each corner of the land, living on the bodies of animal and man. On you and your servants shall be unleashed a horde of vicious and venomous beasts, emerging even from under the ground, except in the regions my people are found. A severe epidemic will kill all the sheep and horses and donkeys and camels you keep. Your cattle will fall with the blink of an eye, but no livestock of my people will die. And a handful of soot from the fireplace will be thrown in the sky right before your face. Then burning and blistering boils will begin to erupt on you and your servant's skin. A hail of fire will fall from the sky. All that lives in the field will die, both man and beast, every blade of grass, each tree in the field, the hail will smash. Some of your food might survive the rains, but locust swarms will consume what remains. They'll enter your borders from all around, so thick that you can't even see the ground. Then deep darkness will fill this place, till no man sees his brother's face. For 3 long days there will be no light. Your land will be black as the darkest night. And then every firstborn man will die when midnight strikes. Your land will cry, a sound like there has never been, nor will there ever be again. Your sons will die and you will grieve. You'll pay my people just to leave. You'll dress them in your very best. You'll give them all that they request. They will no longer be your slaves, for I will bring them forth to save, redeem, and take them as my own, then lead them back through the desert home. Because you won't let my people depart, I'm sending my plagues against your heart. You and your servants soon shall see, in all the earth there is none like me. And if I chose, I could send my hand to wipe you out from the face of the land, but I let you live so you may declare how great my name is everywhere. It's a little Hashem rapping to Pharaoh, you know, a little
That was
gangster
wild.
rap.
That is gangster rap.
So
Wow.
in my head, I'm like, oh boy, these Orthodox Jews are not going to like this. Like they think they're going to like this song, but they're not going to like this, you know?
Right.
And so I did it. And to my surprise,
They liked it.
they freaking loved it.
Right.
And I was like, man, I didn't know. I guess Orthodox Jews can get down with some gangster rap. And it was actually kind of striking because at this point, as I'm shifting away from my old subjects and I'm doing more and more biblical stuff, and I'm performing the biblical stuff at the music festivals. So like I do that one, you know, at a reggae festival. Everyone's like, man, it's kind of heavy, bro. Like, why does everybody have to? Oh, why the firstborn have to die, man? Like, what? You know, like they're not down with it really.
They're
Like,
not
it's too heavy for them. But these Orthodox Jews are like, yeah, like smoke them out, like, you know. But after that point, I was like, I felt more comfortable just stopping in random Chabads on my travels. So I'd stop in for Shabbat, just random shluchim for Shabbos dinner or whatever. And through doing that, you know, when it came up that I was going to be going on Birthright, a number of them were like, oh, well, you should go to My Note. You got to go to My Note and check out another one of them told me this yeshiva in Tzfat I should go check out.
Shalom Rav?
No, Tamimei Dar, Chabad.
Chabad, right.
So that became part of my plan. Was I was going to go Birthright, then I was going to go to yeshiva for a bit, and then I was just going to find myself and wander around. And I didn't have a plan for the last 2 months. They let you push your return ticket up to 3 months.
Right.
So then I go. So sometime after that point, I take on Nazirite, and then I go to Israel on Birthright. Had an amazing Birthright trip, and then I go to My Note. my notes got a full set of Art Scroll English Gemaras.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, there's a Nazir one. So I start to read the Nazir one, right? Because I took on Naziris, but I don't know I don't know
anything about
all
it.
I know is what it says in Parshat Naso. That's all I know about it.
Right.
And as I'm reading, I'm like, wait a minute.
I want to stop. Is that what you realized?
I was like, I can't get out of this. Like, I was thinking this was just a year-long commitment.
Right.
And now, as I'm reading, I'm like, wait a minute. Like, not only can I not get out of this, but there's like a shaila if I can even leave Israel ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the whole Chutz La'aretz is considered Tumas Mace.
Oh my God. Okay. That's
so
wild.
I had to even ask my Rosh Yeshiva, like a shot, like, am I even allowed to leave? You know? And he came back and said, basically, he says yes, because Kohanim have the same issue. Kohanim also.
Oh, and they're here.
They're allowed to come here for business, for marriage, for learning Torah. If it, you know, for one of those reasons, then they're you're it's the same prohibition. So if they can do it, you can do it. But yeah, like now so I never intended to be like a Nazir for, what is it now? I don't know, over 15 years. That was never my intention. I thought it was going to be like a 1 year kind of thing. But yeah, no. So
you're just locked and loaded now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's I actually I went on this awesome trip to Israel with my graduate school. I was really honored because it was like they picked a couple people from different graduate schools in the tri-state area that are gonna like make a difference in the Jewish community, and I was like picked, which was really cool.
Nice.
And they sent us over there for like 2 weeks to meet all the NGOs and all that stuff. And there was one woman there who, I can't remember her name, but she was from Russia, and she was a secular Jew, but she was from Russia. And it was wild. She really inspired me, because one day, like, we were all telling each other our stories because we got to know each other pretty well. And she actually started crying about the story that she said that when she came to America is the first time she was called a Russian. I mean, her whole life, she was a Jew, and she was protecting and guarding her Jewness. And now all of a sudden, Jews are calling her Russian.
Wow.
She's like, I'm not a Russian. I'm a Jew. Like, I was in Russia, but she lived. She was like, so anyway, her fire.
That's what all Ashkenazi Jews are dealing with right now in the whole Israel situation. Is like, as long as we were in Europe, we were Jews. Yeah. And now all of a sudden,
it's like you're European.
You're European colonizers. When did we get that privilege? Right.
That would have been nice.
Yeah, it would have been nice. It would have been nice when we were getting pushed into the gas chambers. It would have been nice if we were considered nice white Europeans.
It's like, we have our country, let's take over other countries. That's a colonizer. So anyway, it was pretty fascinating. Like, it's maybe see it in a different way, but anyway, the passion of her, she had me come out. She introduced me to her cousin. She's like, I need you to meet my cousins. I don't know who the cousin is. I come out, I see a man full Hasidic garb, and I'm like, wow, that's wild. You guys, like, so he had come to Israel when they left Russia, and she went to America, and he became Hasidic. When I got closer, I realized that he had his really long braided hair.
Oh, yeah?
Hasidic garb fully. And I'm like, she's like, you needed to meet him. He's a Nazir.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what?
Not many. Not
many. He said there's a community of Nazir. Do you know about this? Of Nazirs in Israel. They have like a leader. And they're like, I think he was even a Kohen. And he's like protecting it for life, and he was telling me about the 4 different types of Nazirs. I didn't know anything about it, because
there's 3 kinds of Nazirs.
He said the 4th was a king.
Oh, interesting. I don't know about that.
A king has its own. A king had to be a Nazir, and actually, when you're talking about King David, I was like, oh, maybe there's a connection. But
King David's son Avshalom was a Nazir.
Well, he was a Nazir.
But I guess Avshalom became king. Avshalom did become king for a minute. He he overthrew. Yeah, he overthrew David, and it was a coup.
Right.
So he was a Nazir king.
Very short-lived.
Yeah. But still, he was a Nazir king for a minute there.
For a minute. No, but they all, right, he told me the 3 Nazirs, and then there's a 4th that nobody thinks of, but every king had to be a Nazir. That's what he said.
I've never heard that before.
All right. Well, you can probably know
and it's
better
not
than
in the
me.
Gemara for sure. So
Yeah.
but there's
All right.
definitely the three. There's
What are
Nazir,
the three?
The three are Nazir Shloshim, Nazir Olam, and Nazir Shimshon. So Nazir Shloshim is a Nazir for a limited amount of time. It's called Shloshim because that's
30
the minimum
days,
amount. That's the minimum amount.
Oh, okay.
But it could be any amount, but it can't be less than 30 days. So if you didn't specify, then it's 30 days. And so that's Nazir Shloshim.
That one you can get out of.
You can't get out of anything.
Oh, I thought. Oh, right, because you need a.
You could annul it, meaning it never happened.
Oh, okay.
That's not getting out of it. That's just it never happened in the first. You could make a case that it was made under,
False pretenses.
false pretenses. So you can, but you're, in biblical times you finish it. You could complete it. You could bring korbanos,
Right.
and then cut your hair and drink wine and do it. That's the.
Fall off the wagon.
No, it's not. He's not falling off the wagon.
No,
It's proper. You could finish your. You can finish.
That's
it.
why you can't end it because we don't have it.
So yeah, first, also one of the other things I didn't understand is that you have to fulfill whatever number of days you set, which for me is a year. You have to do it tahor. You have to be pure.
Okay.
So you can't even start counting your days until you're tahor. So until you get paraduma, you're a Nazir Tameh. You're just in a state of limbo, waiting to become pure. Then you could, once you become tahor, then you could count your days, and once you count your days, then you could bring korbanos to complete the vow.
So you're a Nazir Tameh?
I'm a Nazir Tameh, yeah. I'm a
right.
Nazir Tameh. And which
Not a great name.
many people are confused. They're like, you can't be a Nazir. The Gemara tells of a case where somebody takes on Naziris while they're standing in a graveyard. So you absolutely can become a Nazir Tameh even from the beginning. It's very clear. So that's kind of like me. I basically took Naziris while I was standing in a graveyard. I didn't know that. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but
okay.
So that's Nazir Shloshim. Then you got Nazir Olam, which is a lifetime commitment, and
Nazir Shimshon.
And Nazir Shimshon, which there's a machlokes of if someone can even actually take on a Nazir Shimshon. Some people say that it's just Shimshon, but the ones who say that you could take on a Nazir Shimshon, the difference is a Nazir Shimshon, you can come into contact with dead people, because we know the story of Shimshon that at a certain point he makes this wager with his wife's friends, like, if you can answer my riddle, I'll give you 30 sets of clothes.
Right.
And they bully her into giving them the answer, and then he has to pay them 30 sets of clothes. So what does he go do? He goes and kills 30 Philistines and takes their clothes off their dead bodies.
He was killing Philistines all day.
Yeah, but this was the beginning of it, right? Well, sometimes he's killing him with a bone.
That jawbone.
Right, but I'm saying if you hit him with a bone, that's not. You didn't actually touch them. You know what I'm saying? Like you maybe. Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
There's a story of Shmuel. Shmuel Shmuel Hanavi was a Nazir, and
he diced that guy.
He supposedly threw his sword. The Gemara says he threw his sword so he wouldn't be actually touching the metal sword at the same time as he's.
Really?
Yeah, that he threw the sword to cut off Agag's
That's a stretch,
head.
bro. I hate to say it, because it says he literally diced him.
No,
the word is that. How do you throw it? Like, he cut him into pieces, I think.
No, I think he just cut off his head. I thought, yeah.
Fine, but like
he threw it.
The translation
like
is he diced him up. I'm just saying,
yeah.
like
So
an onion, bro.
but it's the good. No, that's Pshat Gomorrah though that he threw it. I think.
Okay.
So yeah, so those are the Nazirim we've got. I'll have to look into the one about.
You have to look about the king, because he said that when a Jewish king has to be a Nazir, but that's
yeah.
Doesn't sound right to you.
It's not mentioned in the Gemara, so.
Right, so he was telling me, I was like freaked out because I'm like, I didn't know we had Nazirs anymore.
So I don't know about that Nazir group that you mentioned. There is for sure on Facebook. I've got some we got the Nazir support group that we communicate with each other. There's not many of us, but
really,
it's not an actual group. But for sure, I'm probably the most well-known Nazir. So other Nazirs will randomly reach out to me and be like, "Oh man, do you have to deal with this nonsense too?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it sucks. We get all kinds of."
Are you allowed to
Nazir
drink at all?
Oh yeah,
it was just wine.
Just grapes.
So
that's a common misconception.
Yeah, you could get trashed on vodka if you want.
I did it last night.
Okay. You get so you can still be Chabad.
Exactly.
You don't have to stop being Chabad just
No,
because you're.
I can even be
Nazir.
more Chabad. I'm making Kiddush on the vodka instead of no.
Yeah, what do you make Kiddush on?
So usually I do on challah. My wife makes homemade challah. That's like, to me, it's very chashuv. But if I don't have challah, I could make it on chomer medina. It's actually best if I'm yotzi. So if someone else is around, it's best if I'm yotzi on them making.
Someone else makes it.
Yeah. So, but if it's just me and the family, then I usually do on challah.
You do it on challah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. So then the rest of your family in Nazirim also by accident. They don't have a choice.
Yeah, my kids get too crazy hopped up on juice too. I don't know how people do it. Like my kids, they have any juice, they're just bouncing off the walls.
Bouncing
like,
off the walls.
They're not going to eat anything.
When I was a kid, there was a rule that I get like the maximum I get a half a cup of soda a day. Otherwise, I'm literally flying off the walls.
I don't understand these families. They get like the handle of the grape juice, handle of Kedem grape juice. That these kids are just overflowing cups. Like if my kids do that, they're gone. Like that is.
Yeah, but I don't know if you're probably not going to relate to this, but a freezing cold grape juice is one of the world's greatest things in the world.
I like juice. Grape juice, honestly, grape
no,
juice.
It's got grape juice with a little bit of frost on top.
Grape juice was never my favorite. I did like wine. I used to love wine. That was my drink of choice.
Really?
Before I was a Nazir, red wine was my drink of choice.
So you miss the.
It's been so long. I don't even know if I miss it, but yeah, I used to very much enjoy wine.
Okay, so first of all, I mean, you have obviously a lot more to your story, but I am curious with the music you're doing now. Mm-hmm. Is there a mission connected to it, or are you still, I'm a performer, that's what I do, or is there?
I mean, there's always been a mission. I think since the beginning, I've used. Really, I'm not a musician. Really, I'm a storyteller.
Wow, okay.
And I just use music because, like we were saying earlier, when it hits you, you feel no pain. Music is just a nice. It's like sugar to make the medicine go down.
Right. Spoonful of sugar.
But to me, the music is very much secondary to the message. I always start with the message. I'm always starting with what is the point? What am I trying to say? And it's always been that way for me. Even before I was into Judaism, I was giving over political messages, or I was giving over social messages. But the message was always the point, and the music is just a way to sweeten the deal. So I think a lot of artists go the other way, and they're like, "Ooh, this kind of sounds cool. These words sound cool. Maybe I could make it make sense. Maybe I could make it. Maybe I could make it mean something." And then, like at the end of the day, they have a song that sounds really cool, but doesn't mean that much because they didn't start from a place of like meaning. They started from a place of this sounds cool. And
well, sometimes the music itself, like the instruments, is where you give over the meaning, and the words are almost like background. Certain music's
not me.
Right.
Not me.
I'm saying there's
not my
another
but
side.
Yes, you're right. I mean, there's people who,
You're like more like Leonard Cohen or Bob Dylan.
Bob Dylan.
Wrote
Bob Dylan's another
stuff.
one of my. He's another one
Is
of
he?
my. Yeah, for sure. I love Bob Dylan. Who also, I get this all the time. People are like, cultural appropriation, man. What are you doing? Taking over I'm like, okay. When did what's the earliest hip hop? What's the earliest rap? People will be like, well, 80s. Maybe if people are get really stretched, they'll be like, it was in the 70s. The first rappers were in the 70s. Okay.
Yeah.
So I always send them a clip of Bob Dylan's Subterranean Homesick Blues from 61. Okay, well, Johnny's in the basement mixing up the medicine, and I'm on the pavement thinking about the government. Man in the trench coat, badge off, laid off, says he's got a bad cough, wants to get it paid off. Look out, kid, something you did, God knows when, but you're doing it again. Better duck down the alleyway, looking for a new friend. Man in the coonskin cap with the big pen wants $11 bills, you only got 10. Maggie comes fleet-foot, fat face full of black soot, talking at the heat, put plants in the bed, but the phone's tapped anyway. Maggie says many say must bust in early May. Orders from the DA. Look out, kid, something you did. I mean, like he's
that's a 61.
That's 61.
Wow.
And he's shredding it. Sure, he has a little like country twang on it.
Yeah.
But he's shredding it. He those are bars. If you put that on a Dr. Dre beat, people will be like, "Damn, this is gangster." You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's doing it in 61. So who took from who?
Yeah.
That's Jewish. That's a Jewish dude doing it in 61.
Is cultural appropriation allowed to exist in music? all music.
What do you mean is it allowed? Does it like?
It bothers me because music is a collaboration at all times. Every musician, a real musician, goes to Africa and is like, I've never heard these beats. I didn't even know you could do that type of timing. And they go to India and they're like hearing, they're like, and you're like, a musician, music's in their heart. Like, how do you tell them to stop?
I know.
I don't get it with music.
I mean, anyone who's saying that is basically just a total jerk. You know, like there's no that's the only reason they're saying stupid stuff like that. Usually it all is coming from a place of they politically disagree with the message I'm saying, and they're trying to find some way to just cut into me. You know what I mean?
Right.
There are lots of haters out there these days.
Lots of haters. Okay. First of all, we usually end with I'm ending because I got to get on with my day.
Yeah.
I really think I should be a 24-hour podcaster, so I could just go on for hours and hours because I have so many more things to say. But I told someone I'd meet them 10 minutes ago. So here's how you.
Sorry to hold you up.
No. Don't worry. Podcasting is my life. What we usually end with the last question that I have, which is cool because nobody really knows. Because anybody who's even listened to my podcast, no one makes it to the end.
Oh, okay.
So, you know what I'm saying? No, I'm kidding. But I have no idea if they do or they don't. But the question is the rooftop question. If you got 100,000, 1 million people listening, and you get to yell something off the rooftop to the world, just like, what do you want to yell to the world?
It's a great question. Which song am I singing? To me, that's how I think.
Yeah. So actually, that would be awesome if your rooftop question was a song.
I'll sing you let's see, the rooftop song. Changes from time to time, but I'll tell you, this is the one.
It could be many rooftop yells.
Yeah.
You just gotta pick one.
I'm gonna pick one. And this one is also, I don't just sing from the rooftop. This is one I also basically sing to my kids every night when for bed. So this is with the energy that I want in the world, right? It's based on Kitavo, the section in the Torah where there's the blessings and the curses. And I for a while I tried to write a song about it, the blessings and the curses, and I never liked how it turned out. It always was like this mixture of it didn't work. I tried a few times to do it, and then one year I was like, what if I just do the blessings? Like, why leave these curses out of here, just let's focus on the blessings.
Okay. And
I love how so here this is what I scream from the rooftops, like, blessed shall you be in the city, blessed shall you be on the land, blessed shall be the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your hand. Blessed shall be the harvest, as well as the seeds you sow. Blessed shall you be as you come in, blessed shall you be as you go. The skies will open up with goodness, and the sun will shine. All the rain will fall for you in its proper time. The field will yield abundant grain, fruitful trees and vine. Your basket will be filled with bread, your bowl with oil and wine. Blessed shall you be in the city, blessed shall you be on the land. Blessed shall be the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your hand. Blessed shall be the harvest, as well as the seeds you sow. Blessed shall you be as you come in, blessed shall you be as you go. With success you'll stay ahead, never fall behind. You shall lend to many friends, never borrow a dime. Hashem will bless the work you do and all that's in your keep. Your wealth will grow and multiply like a flock of healthy sheep. Blessed shall you be in the city, blessed shall you be on the land. Blessed shall be the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your hands. Blessed shall be the harvest, as well as the seeds you sow. Blessed shall you be as you come in, blessed shall you be as you go. Have no fear of enemies, though they may march as one. On 7 roads they'll run away before the day is done. Some may rise against you, but each of them will drop. They'll all fall beneath your feet while you wind up on top. Blessed shall you be in the city, blessed shall you be on the land. Blessed shall be the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your hand. Blessed shall be the harvest as well as the seeds you sow. Blessed shall you be as you're coming, blessed shall you be as you go.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. You sing that to your kids?
Every night, pretty much, yeah. It's their favorite song.
They love it.
They love it. They ask for it every night.
It has a very different style than your other ones. Also, like, it's so soothing. Like, it's not that your other stuff isn't soothing.
No, it's a mix. You know, but you know, if I have my rooftop thing, I want to soothe the world. I want to bring blessing into the world.
Bring the blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
that's, you know, we're children of Abraham. We're supposed to be a blessing to the world. That's what we are here. So
it's hard to it's hard to do the curses.
I don't want to do the curses.
I don't want to do the
curses. I just want to bring the blessings.
Let's do the blessings.
Yeah.
The blessings, also, if you just do the blessings, you're just assuming that everybody's going to be good.
Right.
Like,
right.
why?
Let's judge people favorably.
Yeah,
and
just
give
like
them the blessings.
They're doing good.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like there's so much more I want to pick your brain about, but I feel like we need a level 2 and another time.
All right, yeah, we'll do it again. We'll do it again. This was a lot of fun.
This was really fun. Thank you so much, man.
Of course.
That was
yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely.
That was
pleasure.
awesome.
Thank you for this day that I've been given. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this chance. Thank you for this chance to live a new